We actually met at work in San Diego. We both worked for a hotel company, and it was really interesting because once we were introduced, a friend of mine introduced me to Jessica and said, "This is Joe Weiss." And she said, "Oh my gosh, I dated a Joe Weiss."
Yeah, different Joe.
So it was kind of that was just a coincidence, and it was something that was kind of neat. And then we started talking, and we started a running group after work with a bunch of other people, and it really allowed us to get to know each other.
When I shook his hand that day that we met at the hotel, it was the third. I had moved to San Diego, and it was day 3 upon living there, and shook his hand, and I just instantly knew there was something like intriguing about him or very different about him, that I was just like, and I was like, nope, I have sworn off dating at work. I'm not going to date anyone at work, and then end up marrying him. So I was like, great. After Jocelyn was just about 6 or 9 months, we knew that we wanted another baby, another child, and then we waited until she was about 1.5 years, and we pretty much, it was right away again, and we were really excited about it. So after just 3 or 4 weeks, we started telling everyone. We're like, we're pregnant, and I know you're supposed to wait till 12, but we started telling everyone right away. Well, I woke up from a nap, and I had a small, I thought like maybe I had an accident, like I wet the bed, because I was like, there's no way week 19 that your water could break. And I called Joe at work, and we were just talking about something else, and I was like, oh, by the way, I think I had like an accident in bed. I don't know, like I just kind of like leaked. I thought it was, I think I maybe had an accident. And he, with his, he's like, honey, you should go to the doctor, just call them today and just go and get it checked out. Waited for the doctor, and then they ran some tests and confirmed that at first they said, I think you do have a leak. We can see that there's fluid leaking, and then went down to the main part of the hospital and did more tests. And I text messaged Joe. I was like, it's just a leak, it didn't seem like such a big deal. Yeah. And
I was still at work. Just sounded like it's routine, a routine thing.
Yeah, and then talked to a second doctor, and both the doctors came into the room, and Jocelyn and I were laying on the bed, and one doctor removed her eyes and like was wiping tears from her eyes, and I was just like, this is not good. And she said, you've ruptured your membranes, and like completely ruptured your membranes, where you've lost your amniotic fluid. And then they put it in picture as far as numbers, and they said, you have, your baby at this point and moving forward has a 15% chance of living, even if you make it past week 24, which is the crucial week, and has a 15% chance of living and a 3% chance of being normal.
I was in a meeting and just walked out of the meeting, and I was jumped in a cab to the hospital, and it was from downtown to Burnaby. And on the way, I was trying to call people and text people as well that were in our from our home group, that could just to let them know and try to get some prayer going. And so I was telling people, leaving messages and telling the story on people's voicemails, and and I was crying the whole time. And the cab driver, at one point I looked up, and even the cab driver was crying, and it was really hard. The doctors asked, they said, do you have family here? And we don't. So we said, no, we don't, but we belong to a church that we, it really supports us, and we consider family. And so they said, okay, well, we don't expect you to make a decision today with what you want to do, whether terminate the pregnancy or decide to continue. But please go home, give it some thought, and if you have any questions, give us a call. And so that's where they left it. at that point, with the risks to Jessica, we were, and our family members are telling us, you need to consider Jessica's life as well, and think, what would it be like to raise Jocelyn by yourself, and what, to not have Jessica around, and if you do this right, and if it's a planned surgery, you can have children again later, and have a second or another chance at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we phoned and made the appointment, and that was a Thursday, and the appointment was made for the following Thursday. So but I would have to check in Tuesday and go through some procedures before Thursday, the final day, and that same day was the night that the healing seminar started in July with Carl Gustav, and we had always intended on going, but then I was on strict bed rest, because labor is at any time, and so we're like, no, we're not going to go. At like 9:30 or 10 that night, we get a call from Terry and Charlotte, part of our home group, and they are like, what are you guys doing? We're like, well, we're just, up and about to go to bed. And they're like, well, we're coming over. And we're actually right in front of your door. And we were just at the healing seminar, and they were talking all about miscarriages. And we really felt that it was about you guys, and that we strongly urge that you guys should go there tomorrow. We know you're on bed rest and everything, but we know about your decision and everything. We're not going one way or the other. Just give it a shot. Friday, the next day, we emailed our home group members, informed them that we're going to the seminar. We also emailed the pastors, told them we're coming, and because they had been aware of the situation. And actually, Pastor Dave phoned us just before the hospital called to book the appointment. So that was really amazing that he took the time, and it just really, really touched us deeply. And then we went to the healing seminar, and on the way there, in the car, we just really felt convicted.
Yeah, well, the previous week was very difficult, and there were some back and forth between what was right, what was wrong. I was struggling with. I didn't know if I could live with that what if for the rest of my life. How would that child have been? What if, and not knowing. But it worked out very well, and it was perfect that we both looked at each other and said, this isn't right. We need to have faith and put this in God's hands. And so on the way to the ceremony, we decided to cancel the appointment.
Even though we couldn't physically call, but we held hands, shook hands, and we said, no matter what we hear or feel from the healing seminar, we are trusting in God, and He's the only one that can do anything about this situation, and we just have to put our faith in Him.
It was hard because when we went to the healing ceremony, one of the things, Carl Gustav said was there are two types of healings, the F-14s and the turtle healings. And everybody wants the F-14, we were
healing now.
Yeah, we were just like, seal it up, water's back, and everything is great. And, those next appointments that we had, that wasn't the case. It was actually, we were getting worse and worse prognosis. And so that was really hard. And because from the healing ceremony, I had never felt, I guess, the Holy Spirit, or it was bizarre to me how I felt during worship that night. And it was like, wow, something happened. We were healed. And then to go to an appointment and to have the doctor say it's worse than it was before. And, we weren't going to tell you about this because it didn't matter because you were terminating, but now that you're continuing, you need to know this as well.
The home group actually had a meeting without us one time just to discuss the situation, and it was really hard on a lot of people in the group, and they decided to start a fast just on their own as a group, and they all started a fast in order to save our baby. And they're the rescue team that came for us, and they carried us the whole way through this, and would come over with food. Lelania, she organized a whole food drive for us, so Joe didn't have to cook.
I loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So people would be on a schedule, and they would know when to come and bring us food, and they happily did so. And
what was even more amazing, what our home group rallied around us, and they were really a support system for us, and were there, but they also found people that we had never even met from the church that they just heard the story and were bringing food, and it's like, this person's going to come over. It's like, I have no clue who that person is, but they're bringing us over food, and they were just, everybody was so caring and had compassion. And I received a phone call from her cell phone, I think, but it was one of her girlfriends, and said, you need to come to the hospital now. Jessica's bleeding quite a bit. And so again, jumped in the taxi, and the whole way was just praying on the way to the hospital. And got there, kind of run through and found her, and she was in her in bed, and down in the kind of, I guess it's the emergency delivery room, and they were monitoring her and monitoring the baby, and this was at week 28 out of 40, so essentially 3 months early. And so, which they said every week we can make it is a better survival chance for the baby. So we were there, and the doctors were coming in and taking, Jessica was bleeding quite a bit, and they were weighing these blankets and things to see how much blood she had lost, and she was started having contractions and everything else, and the doctors came in, and they said, you've lost about 1 liter of blood. It's at this point that the baby's going to come, it's just a matter of when. And so I was just like, okay, if that's what you're saying, let's go right now. We're not wasting time. Let's get in the delivery room right now. And because I certainly didn't want, with the risks to Jessica and to the baby, didn't want to waste a minute. It was just like, let's go. Why are we still here?
Pretty much every day when I would see the head doctor, I would just say, what are your concerns today? What are your worries? Because then we would take those worries and those concerns and forward them on to our home group and tell them, okay, he has something with the heart, we don't really understand it, but just pray for the heart, or next time pray for this. And it would kind of change as he was growing. And then eventually the doctor just said to me, because I would constantly ask him, what are you worried about today? What are your concerns today? And eventually he just put his hand on my shoulder and he said, all he has to do is grow. That's it. And I'm like, really? That's it? And he's like, yes, just let him grow. He's fine. He just needs to grow. And they were then naming him the star of the nursery. Like within 6 days, he totally turned around. He came in as the sickest baby in the entire NICU unit, which they fly babies in from all over western half of Canada, and he was the sickest one. And then 6 days later was known as the star, and he was out of there. And people, like other parents, other families, I would kind of get the vibe from them that they're just like, what? How did this happen? Like, you came in really bad and you're getting out of here so fast? How is that happening? Like, when he first started laughing, it was hard to smile back at him with dry eyes, because it was just like, we almost didn't have you. We almost didn't have you here laughing. We were so close to not having you at all. And here he is just laughing and happy and healthy, and keeps us busy now. And it's just like he's truly, we stand firm on 1 Samuel 27. We prayed for this child, and the Lord granted us what we asked for. And it's really true. And the condition I had was pre-rupture of membranes, and we now call it just pray, rest, observe miracles.